the man that organized it, I met when I hiked the Grand Canyon, and he talked about putting this ride together a couple of years ago, and I expressed an interest. And when he had the route planned, he called me and asked me if I was interested. And I said, yeah, I really was.
Okay. So how many miles per day were you
average about
averaging?
85 a day.
Wow. And how long had you trained for this before you started?
I hadn't. I was in decent shape. I'd run the marathon in last November, and I'd continued to run, and I did some biking. I think I rode about 800 miles. The longest ride was an 80-miler before I left. You kind of, there's no way to train for a 4,000-mile trip. You just hope you're in good enough shape, you know. And it turned out I was in good enough shape, and I was lucky that I didn't hurt myself. Some people would hurt a knee or whatever.
Worthwhile for you?
I think it'd probably be the mountains. They were just absolutely spectacular. It was by far the hardest part. It was cold, and there was snow on. We crossed the Continental Divide, and we went through, I think, 5 different mountain passes, and on all of them there was still snow in the passes, and it was so the descents were really cold. And but in spite of that, the scenery was just absolutely spectacular, you know. And I've driven in the mountains, but usually I'm so preoccupied with keeping it on the highway that I miss a lot. And a bicycle, especially when you're climbing, it's pretty slow, and so I really enjoyed that. About that, there were the 19. I think there was either 7 or 9 lawyers, and I recall there's a picture of me changing flat, and 3 of my riding colleagues stopped, so there was 4 of us, and we all happened to be a lawyer, so you can imagine the caption on that. How many lawyers does it take to change a flat tire? Several members of the tribe whose reservation we started our trip on at Point Nia, or Nia Bay. And one of the Native Americans, when he heard what we were doing, did a spiritual dance and prayer with his drum right on the beach there on the Pacific. And that was really nice of him, and that was very unique. And we ran into a number of young people that were hiking in the on the Allegheny Trail, and our bike route intersected the Allegheny Trail, and it was interesting to talk to them and hear about what they were up to. You know, backpacking the Alleghenies is a very difficult and arduous trip, as I understand it. It's hard hiking. But they were very pleasant and enjoying their experience. Even though we tried to get off the beaten path, we found ourselves, there's just no way to cross the United States without occasionally being on heavily traveled roads. Every state up in the northern tier has logging trucks, and those are really frightening. They're huge, and they take up the whole road. And when they blow by you, it just, you can feel the draft or whatever from their vehicles. And so that was, if I'd known it was that dangerous, I'm not sure that was a surprise to me. And it was a bit more physically challenging than I thought. I didn't think I'd have much trouble, but the mountains slowed me down. But in spite of it, they were really magnificent.
What's next? You had mentioned bicycling in Europe with your wife.
Yep. We're going to do the We're going to bike the Danube. Don't know for sure where we're going to start, but we're thinking maybe Belgrade and just follow the Danube. Hopefully we'd like to end up somewhere near Amsterdam. No, the Danube doesn't go that way. We'll follow it as long as we can, and then go north to Prague and then over to Amsterdam, and then cycle as the tulips are in blossom. So we're thinking about doing that next spring, April or May.
What would you say to people who you know, have thought about doing things like this, but just never take the plunge then?
I don't know. That's hard. I wouldn't want to give my advice. If it's a goal and it's something you really want to do, you better do it while you've got your health. You know, I'm not sure what the future will bring tomorrow or next year. At my age, I'm fortunate. It could be, you know, something could happen. I wouldn't be able to do this. So, do it as soon as you can. And if you want to do it. If I had to do it over again, I'd probably just do a couple of the segments. I probably wouldn't do eastern Montana and North Dakota. I could probably live without that 1,000 miles. But since it was a goal, I needed to do it that way.
Okay, that's